Yo, what's going on? What's good? I stated this before, so I'm going to state this again. Hold up. Hold up for one moment. All right. So I stated this before, I'm going to state this again. When it comes to a lot of this stagnation and dysfunction that you see in this online space, at the end of the day, you have to blame the viewing audience because, of course, it's the viewing audience who support and popularize a lot of this dysfunction that you see online. It's the viewing audience who would rather put themselves in the position for these stagnation creators to capitalize off of their anger, off of their negativity, off of their depression, off of their pain, instead of actually putting themselves in a position to heal from whichever pain you've gone through, from whichever struggle you went through, and actually do the necessary actions to improve your life. Common sense, right? The audience, the viewing audience of this dysfunction and this stagnation choose to put themselves in that position. Some people might say, well, the audience don't know any better. Okay, so if that's the case, whose fault is that? It is your responsibility to know better. If you're an adult, especially if you're an adult over the age of 25, it is your responsibility to have the critical thinking skills, the analytical skills, and just the plain damn common sense to recognize when something is bullshit. By the time you turn 25 years old, right, the human mind is considered to be the human brain is considered to be a fully developed brain, which means that you should be able to have the cognitive skills, to use critical thinking. And if you're unable to do that, that is your fault. So I can't sit there and use this excuse of, some people in the audience just may not know any better as the reason why they put themselves in the position to support the stagnation creators in this online space that we call the so-called Black Manosphere. I can't. The root of the dysfunction, the root of the stagnation that you see in the so-called Black Manosphere 2.0 version is within the viewing audience who prefer to watch the dysfunction, who gets entertained off of the bullshit. I mean, this is common sense. It's the audience, of course, common sense, who put the who give these cash app donations and who provide these super chats, who provide these PayPal donations to these creators or stagnation creators who bring nothing to the table but a bunch of grifts, strifes, and complaints about the opposite sex, but do nothing to solve the situation and have no solutions to solve whichever situations they have or issues they have with the opposite sex. I mean, this is common sense. We could keep putting blame and pointing the fingers as at these stagnation creators day in and day out. But if you got, but if you have these dumb motherfuckers that we call the viewing audience who continue to support the dysfunctional conversations and the dysfunctional topics that you see these motherfuckers always bringing up, then this circle of dysfunction is not going to stop. Because, of course, the stagnation creators within the so-called black manosphere, they, of course, most of them have nothing else to rely upon but this YouTube shit for them to be able to pay their cheap ass rent. So, of course, as long as they see an audience willing to donate their hard-earned dollars out of their pockets just to hear some grifting, they're going to keep capitalizing off of that. Once again, this is common sense. I'm not stating anything that is complex. I'm not stating anything that nobody in here should not know, because this is some shit that most people who watch me should already know or already be aware of. And it's sad what you see in here, a bunch of grown ass males grifting and crying over some bullshit. But that's what it is. When you have a demographic of people who are gullible enough, dumb enough, willingly, that is, willingly, voluntarily dumb, voluntarily gullible, to support content. Well, I won't call it content, I call it stagnation. To support such stagnation that talks about this SMV, sexual market value, which is something that's fake. If they want to support such videos which talks about how come people are mad at this group of people, as long as you got a demographic of people who are willing to support such videos, such as people still talking about Derek Jackson and still talking about Cynthia G in 2023, who do you really blame? You blame the audience. They love this retarded shit. I was reading the other day. I was doing a little reading. And I read an article about how the federal government gave a grant to the state of South Carolina for they could extend their highway system. And the concentrated areas that the state of South Carolina are targeting in order to extend their highway system are, of course, predominantly so-called black neighborhoods within the state. So here we go of a repeat in America extending their highway systems in predominantly black neighborhoods that results in so-called black people losing their property, being forced to lose their property through eminent domain. And this is the plan that that the state of South Carolina has. And this has been going on. This shit has been going on for more than a century, or at least close to a century. Right? And anybody should know that when it comes to property, for the average American who owns property, that is, the value of your property make up about 1/3 of your net worth. So when people lose their property, or not just lose their property, but not being able to have property to pass it on to later generations, that's a large portion of their family's net worth at that. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's a good point. MOT, yes. It is a clientele, not the stagnation creator. Yeah, what up, Sheed? What up, MOT? What up? But going back to what I was talking about, right? About this plan to this plan for the state of South Carolina to extend their highway system, and their places that they're targeting are predominantly black neighborhoods. Once again, like I said, if you understand the history of America's highway system, America, the different states within America have always targeted predominantly black neighborhoods as a way to create or extend their highway system, and it's usually focused on predominantly black neighborhoods, and you find less of that situation happening on what you consider to be so-called predominantly white neighborhoods. It's targeted. And instead of us putting our minds together and finding a way to put a stop, or at least drastically reduce this targeting of black neighborhoods from happening, we want to concentrate on sexual market value. Ain't that some old retarded shit? This shit is fucking retarded. Yeah, same thing happened in Mississippi and a whole lot of states across the United States of America. Yeah. Yeah. But people are still focused on this negotiation table, this imaginary negotiation table that they fantasize in having with a group of so-called with a specific type of so-called black female who is not even fit to sit at a negotiation table with you if one were to exist. you know, this is some retarded shit that I've been observing within the so-called black manosphere for, let's say, the past 6 to 7 years, man. This shit is retarded. What's going on, DC, the code breaker? What's up? What's up, BMT? What's up? This shit is some retarded ass shit. And one of the areas in South Carolina, I forgot the name of the area that I was reading about, was a large, well, was a rural area. Of course, I know South Carolina has plenty of rural areas, but this specific area was a predominantly black rural area where so-called black people are landowners and own acres of land. And these so-called black people had these lands for generations, where it was land that was passed on from generation to generation, that's about to be taken away from them through eminent domain, because the state of South Carolina have received a grant from the federal government to extend their highway system in these areas. And this will continue to happen. And this targeting of so-called black areas in order to create or extend America's highway system is going to keep happening, which going to cause more so-called black people from losing their property through eminent domain. And what are we, as the thinking brothers or the thinking black men, going to do to solve this issue, to mitigate this issue? What are we doing about it? Or what are we going to do about it? What, still complain about Keisha? Blame Keisha? Are we going to sit there just make content blaming Keisha for that shit? I'm just saying, I'm just pointing one out of the many, many problems that so-called black people collectively face that keeps the group, or that slows down progress from the group. Oh yeah, the mindset been slow for a lot of, when it comes to a lot of people in this space, especially a large portion of the viewing audience. And I would say that they're voluntarily slow. I would say when it comes to a large portion of the viewing audience within what we call the black manosphere, a lot of them choose to be this fucking slow. A lot of them choose to be this fucking stupid to support such filth that's not going to result in any progress for the group. Yeah, yeah. Well, BMT, you in South Carolina, so yeah, okay. I'm glad you know. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I forgot the name of the town in South Carolina that I was talking about, but there's several different sections in South Carolina, including Charleston, that the state have targeted specific areas within these different cities and towns that the state have targeted to extend their highway systems. So BMT, I'm assuming BMT, you're more informed about it than I am, since you're in South Carolina. What up, Bronze? What up? What up, Bronzebird? What's up? Yeah, I heard about that. Yeah, I heard about that. Yeah, yeah. About how they did that in Atlanta with the Mercedes Benz Dome. I heard about that. Oh, and also one of the targeted areas, no, or one of the properties that's being targeted to be removed through eminent domain in South Carolina is a historical is a property that's considered to be a historical monument because it was the home, or it played a very important excuse me, or it played a very important part within the civil rights era, where it was the home of of a prominent civil rights figure. I forgot this person's name, that lived in South Carolina, and people like Martin Luther King, Rosa Parks, Medgar Evers used to stay in the home when they was visiting South Carolina. People don't understand that South Carolina played a very important role within the civil rights movement. You know, not just Atlanta, Georgia, not just uh, Selma, Alabama, or Montgomery, Alabama. South Carolina did also play an important part of the civil rights movement in America. Oh, word? Oh, word? Oh, Brownsburg, I know exactly what you're talking about. I know exactly what you're talking about. But you know what, Brownsburg? There was a point in time where so-called black people in Brooklyn could have preserved a lot of these properties and these historical monuments in the borough of Brooklyn if they put their minds together. If they have put their heads together at that time and put their money together. What up, AM1? What's up? Yeah, Brownsburg. I know exactly the place you're talking about in downtown Brooklyn. Yeah, yeah. For a lot of people don't know that there was a specific place in Brooklyn, New York, but there's several places in New York City. But this specific place that Brownsburg is talking about was one of played a key role in the Underground Railroad, where a lot of slaves were hidden for safekeeping when they was running away from slavery. Yeah, but that area now have been highly gentrified. That area have been like so highly gentrified now. So so it would have been a matter of time until that monument, that historical monument, would be that what I consider to be a historical monument would be taken over by greedy real estate developers. But a large portion of the viewing audience haven't taken the time to educate themselves on these different situations because they're so busy going online worried about the pussy of some bitch that they shouldn't be fucking with in the first place. I said this back in 2018, like back in 2018. And I keep saying it. I said that the majority of the so-called black manosphere, the viewing audience and the stagnation creators alike, are full of fucking simps. When you're this concentrated on what is in between the legs of a certain group of females that come from a bad crop, you a fucking simp. Because isn't that like, I don't know about you, but aren't simps, isn't everything when it comes to the decision maker of simp, well, excuse me, isn't like the main factor when it comes to the decision making of simps is pussy? Aren't simps fully or mostly uh, uh, um influenced by what's in between the legs of a female instead of allowing their wisdom or their overall intelligence influence them and guide them to make whichever decision that they have to make in life? Yeah, they simps, man. They a bunch of simps. I remember one day where I went to a. This was not that long ago, and I made a video about this where I went to a certain panel. The panel they was talking about dating and all this other dumbass shit, right? And but they were speaking about dating from the lens of what females like, what females find attractive, you know, what to say to a female to make a like, from that lens. So I came on the panel and I stated, I'm like, okay. And I said, I said something in the nature of, well, whenever a lot of males get on these panels and speak on the topic of dating, they always speak from the perspective of what a female likes, what a female's thinking, how to attract a female. But I rarely hear guys, males, who go on these panels and talk about dating mentioned what type of standards that they have, what they're looking for, what they want. They always speak from the lens of what the female's thinking, what the female likes, but never speak from the lens of what standards that they have when it comes to the ideal woman that they're looking for to make a wholesome wife. And then somebody brought up the point of, well, isn't that what the passport bros movement all about? Men with standards going overseas to find the right female. And I said, hold up right there. We can't really say that because a large portion, not all, I'm not going to say all or every member of that movement, but a large portion of that movement, based on their content, seems as if they're just going overseas for a piece of ass. No disrespect, but that's what it seems when it comes to a large, not all, a large portion, but not every one of those members of that movement. Because because when it comes to a large portion of people within the Passport Bros movement who create this content revolving around traveling, a lot of it revolves around females. Instead of it revolving around males satisfying their love of traveling, their love of exploration, their love of exploring new cultures, their love of exploring new environments, and seeing so many different monuments and being exposed to so many different parts of the world that most people in America have never been exposed to before, and broadening their horizons and broadening their way of thinking, right? A lot of times when they make this travel content, it revolves around females. Now, I'm not saying this is the point that I was making to them, right? I'm just repeating the point that I was making to them. Now, I'm not stating that when men travel, they shouldn't pursue or date females from these countries. I'm not saying that at all. You have every right to do that if you travel, right? Likewise with females. If females travel to different parts of the world, they have the right to meet and date different males and what have you. But to revolve your so-called traveling content around females and make that the primary topic to talk about when it comes to traveling, it is not an example of males having standards or enforcing male standards when it comes to finding the right woman. That's not it. That's not it. So that's basically the point that I was trying to make. Maybe within that panel, I will say that when I was in that panel, I did not articulate myself the way that I have done here, but that's what I meant in context, right? So maybe motherfuckers in that panel took my shit the wrong way, or maybe they were just that goddamn retarded. But when I was making that point or attempting to make that point, the motherfuckers was arguing me down. Because I spoke about how a lot of members within the Passport Bros movement basically are influenced by some pussy when it comes to them traveling. And I made the point that when it comes to traveling, females should not be your only or primary reason for traveling. And when I said that, motherfuckers started flipping out. So then you saw the topic changing, because really my main argument was about males enforcing a standard. So when I made that explanation, then you saw the goalposts moved, to people arguing with me up and down about how I'm trying to take away male happiness because I said that females should not be the only or primary reason why men should travel overseas. And I even gave the disclaimer. I said there's nothing wrong that if you were a man, you a single man, you travel to another country and you find a female that you guys vibe with and you click with and there's good chemistry, there's nothing wrong with you two taking things to the next level. So therefore, I was never against males meeting females overseas. Never was against that, and even now I'm not against that. But it's just that my whole point to those retarded motherfuckers was that it should not be a female should not be the main or only reason. Basically, if you're going to travel, travel for the right reasons. Travel to fulfill your love, like I said before, sorry to repeat myself. Travel to fulfill your love of exploration. That should be like your primary reason for traveling. Travel to fulfill your love of exploring other environments. Travel to fulfill your love of having more and more knowledge and firsthand experience about the world that we live in. Travel in order to fulfill your love of exploring different environments, seeing how different people live in different parts of the world, which is culture, right? Travel in order to fulfill your love in exposing yourself to different people and to different people, men and women, males and females, and networking with them, and understanding their experience and their views of life, because that will change your mind. So how the fuck and stuff like that, these things are part of male happiness. So how the fuck am I trying to remove men's happiness or male's happiness by saying, well, pussy should not be, or in this case, female should not be your primary and or only reason for traveling? Right, right, MOT. MOT said, yeah, taking away a man's happiness, complaining about bitches online. That's what they mean about, that's what they really mean, MOT, when they accuse me of quote unquote taking away a man's happiness. Because the happiness of a lot of these motherfuckers, especially when it comes to a large portion of the viewing audience on the internet or within the so-called black manosphere. I'm not going to say the internet in general. I'll take that back. I'll say a large portion of the viewing audience within the so-called black manosphere, their happiness is based around complaining about a bunch of hoes. Oh shit! Bunker TV says dudes go straight to the brothel after a 20-hour flight. Oh shit! Well, damn. If that's the case, damn. You know, I'm not shaming. I don't really care, although that's not my cup of tea. But I don't really care, nor will I shame a male who chooses to pay for sex. If that's what you do, that's your business. But my whole point when I was on that panel is to say that motherfuckers going overseas for some pussy is not an example of males enforcing standard. Well, not enforced, but I'll say males discussing their standards when it comes to the ideal woman that they would see as a or perceive to be a suitable wife. But basically, I'm saying all that just to show you how a large portion of the so-called black manosphere, the viewing audience and stagnation creators alike, are a bunch of simps because their main focus is what's in between the legs of some bitch. And you should not, as a man, yes, don't get me wrong. I understand if you're a heterosexual male, of course, you're going to be attracted to females. Of course, just like me, I'm a heterosexual male. Of course, I'm attracted to females. But my main priority in life does not revolve around no female's vagina. That's common sense. That's common sense. As a man, your main priorities in life should not revolve around what is in between the legs of a female. That is common fucking sense. What I just said should not be difficult or hard for anyone to actually comprehend. But nonetheless, it was hard for them niggas on that panel to comprehend that. Because when I stated that females should not be the primary or only reason for males to travel to different parts of the world, while I also gave the disclaimer that I'm not against males dating females from other countries, I'm just saying that should not be the primary or only reason for males to travel. I'm saying that when it comes to traveling, Males have to have the right reasons for traveling. And making females the primary or only reason to travel is not the right reason to travel. Females should be part of why you travel, but that should not be a priority though. That should not be top of the list. And motherfuckers in that panel did not understand that. I even had one individual on the panel who told me about how he have a friend who's very much attracted to females from the Dominican Republic. Therefore, he travels to the Dominican Republic in order to meet and date Dominican females. Right? So therefore, he asked me, do I think it's some lame shit? I'm just paraphrasing what he said because I think I also stated that if a male put females as the only or primary reason for traveling to other countries, that's some lame ass shit. I said something like that. So therefore, this person in that panel brought up his friend who's into Dominican females, so he travels to the Dominican Republic in order to meet Dominican females. So he asked me, "Is that some lame ass shit?" I said, "If that is his primary or only reason for traveling to the Dominican Republic, then yes, that's some lame ass shit." You mean to tell me, when it comes to a country like the Dominican Republic, all the things that DR has to offer for you as a tourist, the only thing or the primary thing that you focused on is some Dominican female? God damn, that's some dumbass shit. And motherfuckers in that panel did not understand that. And you even had a motherfucker in that panel who accused me of being like an agent for the quote unquote sisterhood. That I'm like an agent for American black females when I never even mentioned the sisterhood out of my mouth. But you see, this is what happens when we now have a online community that consists of predominantly simps pretending to be thinking black men. When you have that type of online community, then you're going to have a situation where the overall majority of people within that online community, or the lack thereof, supporting a bunch of fucking filth, supporting a bunch of fucking bullshit that does not revolve or result in the progress of black boys or black males or black men as a collective. You don't. Yeah, they wanted to. They wanted to. they'll never accomplish that. Oh, Bunker TV says, I just came back from Turks and Caicos, parasailed, scuba dived, and jet skied. Just me and my 22-year-old for his birthday. Oh, okay. Happy belated birthday to your 22-year-old son or daughter. You know, but I'm glad you had a great time. That's cool. See, that's cool. Exactly. You went to a beautiful island like Turks and Caicos, right? Parasailed, scuba dived, jet skied. Yo, that's cool, man. That's cool. You was not worrying about no goddamn going to a goddamn brothel in that place. Now, am I saying that in that position? Suggest I don't think Bunker TV is single. I think he's married, right? I think he's married, but not sorry to put out your business, Bunker TV, but let's say, hypothetically speaking, if Bunker TV was single, right? And he visited Turks and Caicos and he went jet ski, he parasailed, you know, he went scuba diving, had all this fun. And then he had just happened to meet a female there where they happened to click with and they happened to communicate more often and there was some chemistry and they took it to the next step eventually. Am I saying there's something wrong with that? No, there's nothing wrong with that. That's absolutely a beautiful thing. But that was not Bunker TV. That was not Bunker TV's main reason for traveling to Turks and Caicos. It just something that happened. See, in that situation, there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong if you travel overseas and finding the right female is part of your list. But what I'm saying is that it should not be the primary or only reason for traveling. And I'm not going to spend too much time talking about that experience on the panel because I spent already too much time talking about it. But these dudes on the panel, going back to these dudes on the panel that I'm talking about, they did not or pretended not to comprehend what I was saying, argue my point, and and when I heard all these arguments that people was making against me when I made that statement, it further solidify what I stated ever since 2018 when I stated that the majority of people within the so-called black manosphere are a bunch of simps, because only simps would actually disagree with what the fuck I said. What's up, Spiritual Logic, aka Hulk? What's up, Sugar Bum? What's up, Culture Invasion Podcast? What's going on, guys? What's up? You know what I'm saying? A bunch of fucking nonsense. That's what you have here. A bunch of nonsense. Hold on. Yeah. So so you see some of y'all got y'all wrenches back, Yeah. Spiritual Logic says they always begin from a false premise through misinterpreting your clear position. Exactly. Exactly. Which is the main ingredient to a straw man argument. Right, exactly. Exactly, Bunker TV. I'll meet a woman on vacation, but never go on vacation just to meet a woman. Right. Right. See, and Bunker TV, some people don't understand the difference. But like I said before, when you have this simp mindset that persists within the so-called black manosphere, that especially across a large portion of the viewing audience, then it will be no surprise why you see a lot of the filth and this goddamn oversaturated topics, a dating topic, get the most support. While brothers who actually speak on substantial topics, such as the political landscape, such as the conditions of so-called black males within the political landscape, get less support, or even the least amount of support. What up, V Dub? V Dub, what's good? V Dub, what up, Bronzebird? Bronzebird said that shows the desperation of men who's supposed to be mature and looked at as such. Feels like I'm in high school virtually. Yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, you are in high school virtually. You are in a virtual high school when you're when you're in the within the so-called black manosphere. You're in a virtual high school where you have a bunch of 30, 40, 50, and 60-year-old males who are trying to live a second childhood on the internet. I think I made a video about that before. Yeah, I did. I made a video about that exact topic about grown males trying to live a second childhood on the internet. And then even when I was making a video within that topic, right? You had a nigga who's like in his 60s coming on the motherfucking chat talking about how he's looking for a woman to make his wife, to make him to become his wife. And he was stating what he's looking for a female that don't eat pork and all this bullshit. Yo, I got fucking pissed off at that nigga because I told the same motherfucker several times that when you come on my channel, you stick to the goddamn topic of discussion. These niggas, man. These niggas. The fuck? Oh, okay. Okay. Brownsburg made a video called The Internet Gave You Power relative to paying homage or paying credence to Nas's song. Oh, yeah. That I Gave You Power song by Nas, right? Yeah. I mean, it's crazy when you think about it. Like all the filth and the dumb shit that these stagnation creators are creating and have created for the past few years now is all due thanks to the viewing audience who choose to support such stagnation. So when it comes to the 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 degenerate bullshit that we see within this space ever since 2015, we cannot only point the finger at the stagnation creators. We have to also point the fingers or point the finger at the viewing audience who financed this shit. This is common sense. They financed this shit. And since these stagnation creators see a gold mine, even though it's not that much gold inside that mine, but nonetheless, these stagnation creators see a gold mine in creating a bunch of filth because they see that a large portion of the viewing audience are that stupid to finance it, then the stagnation creators are taking advantage and have taken advantage of that. And the thing is that the viewing audience who financed the bullshit aren't benefiting from this. I mean, if you call a temporary relief of talking shit about Keisha beneficial, I don't call it beneficial because it's nothing but short term. It's nothing but a short term healing, basically a placebo effect. That's all it is. The viewing audience who finance this bullshit are only paying for a placebo. And if anyone know anything about a placebo does not heal a person. A person who takes a placebo is not really healed from anything. They just believe that they've been healed, so they feel good for a very short period of time. But realistically, whichever problem that they have still occurs. It's still occurring. So this is what's going on. The viewing audience are paying for a placebo effect. That's fucking ridiculous. Outside of that, they're not benefiting from financing this filth long term. They're not benefiting from that. But the viewing audience choose to place themselves in that position. This is madness. This is fucking madness, if you ask me. Yeah, spiritual logic, that's exactly what's happening. What up, Ricardo? What up? This is exactly what's happening. So then this placebo effect starts to become addicted. So it becomes like a drug. So the viewing audience go back to the filth and pay for it again. Go back to the filth, pay for it again, get the temporary short-term relief, right? Then the relief goes away, then they go back to the filth, finance it, get the temporary short-term relief, or what they think is relief. Then they go out in the real world, the relief is gone, but they go back, and once it's gone, they go back again, finance it, and get their temporary short-term relief. Next thing you know, years pass, decades pass, and they turn around and look at their real lives, and they see that there's no improvement within their real lives because they're so busy, fixated on a fucking placebo that they've become addicted to like it's crack. That every aspect of their real lives haven't gone nowhere because the viewing audience are so concentrated on this fucking placebo. This is what the fuck is going on with these motherfuckers. That is absolutely true, spiritual logic, aka Hulk. The days when men become pioneer to go against the grain to teach beyond dysfunction are few and far between. Yes, that is absolutely true. Culture Invasion Podcast says, creators, hit the Cash App. Hit the Cash App. I'm going to stop the show. And they feed on it. Houseway, exactly. Hit the Cash App. Hit the Cash App. Or I'm going to stop the show. It's a 3-ring circus of ninjas, divestors, and gatekeepers. Yeah. 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 And you can't put fully blame on the gatekeepers. You can place partial blame on the gatekeepers, but you can't place all the blame on the so-called gatekeepers. You have to place a portion of the blame of the viewing audience that keep these gatekeepers gatekeeping. Because it's a viewing audience that created these gatekeepers. It's a viewing audience that created these stagnation creators. These stagnation creators would not have a name for themselves within this space if it wasn't for the retarded audience who choose to place themselves in the position to buy into the placebos of these stagnation creators. Exactly. Spiritual logic, you always make good points, man. You always make good points, spiritual logic. Yo, for those of you who have not subscribed to Spiritual Logic's channel, please do so right now. Spiritual Logic, aka Hulk, he provides a lot of good information in his videos. He says a sense of escapism to avoid the solution, which always is a man being self-accountable for his own choices and outcomes. Exactly. And this should be common sense among all adult males. But sense is not that common. And I've told people within the past year that if you want to find common sense, you have to go to a museum to find it. Shit. And since I live in New York, I tell people in New York, take the train to the Museum of Natural History here in New York City, and you'll find common sense sitting next to the dinosaur fossils and shit. All fossilized and all deteriorated and shit. Yeah, exactly. That's all it is. It's what you see within the Black Manosphere 2.0 version is no different than Pastor Porkchop every Sunday giving a sermon in which he's not really educating the people about the scriptures. All he's doing is giving them a short-term feel-good effect, aka placebo, and make his gullible audience, his voluntarily gullible audience, feel good for a short period of time. And once church is over and Sunday afternoon turns to Sunday night, and Sunday night turns into Monday morning, and Monday morning turns into Monday afternoon, that short term feeling of feeling good goes away. So now these gullible congregations of the church cannot wait for another Sunday to go back to church, give their money to Pastor Pork Chop so Pastor Pork Chop can feed them another lie to make them feel good. This is exactly what we see within the Black Manosphere 2.0 version. Yeah, the Museum of Modern Art. Yeah. Museum of Modern Art. Right. Brownsburg. Pass the collection plate. Hope good nigga services. Oh shit. Pass the collection plate. But the solution to this is that for those of us in this space who want to or who have let go or rise above or totally avoid the dysfunction and the filth and the grifting and the stagnation of the space, we have to likewise avoid and detach ourselves from members of the viewing audience who support the filth. Because remember, anyone who support filth are full of filth themselves. So when you're around these people, whether in real life or online, some of that filth are going to fall on you too. So it's a solution to not only avoid the stagnation creators, also avoid members of the viewing audience who support the filth of these stagnation creators. And hopefully someday, maybe, possibly, we might see a better online community of so-called Black males. Anyhow, I'm done with this shit. Y'all have a good day. Peace. Shout out to all you guys who came to this live and who commenting. Shout out to all of my hate watchers. Shout out to all the people watching in the clouds who are not hate watching. They just, I guess, choose not to comment. And shout out to all the people who's going to watch this on the playback. All right. Peace out.